Hi, welcome back to the channel. Well, my e-tron 55 is in for repair today to repair the charging port that wasn't working when it came out of its last service. It took a month before I could get in there with a courtesy car. Anyway, this is my courtesy car. This is an Audi Q3 and it is the 45 TFSi E. That makes this a plug-in hybrid. Never driven a plug-in hybrid before, so I just thought I'd let you have a look at what the car's like. Interior wise, it's quite smart and it's got a lot of the features that are in the Q8 and my e-tron. The virtual cockpit is quite similar. All of this touchscreen in the middle, you know, that's pretty good, and it's all nice and slick and fast. You've got some hard controls for the heating and ventilation. The drive select doesn't do anything really with suspension. I've not noticed much on the different modes, but it does make the steering a bit lighter. It might be adjustable dampers, but it's really hard to tell. And you know, it's quite a nice interior. I do like these sport seats. I think they look fantastic, and although they're really firm, they are pretty comfortable. And it looks like there's good space in the back, and it's a reasonable sized boot. So, as I said, plug-in hybrid. So the bigger the number on the back of an Audi, usually the more power it's got. I think the biggest number you can get is 55, which is on my e-tron and now the Q8 55s. Q8 50 is similar to mine, but doesn't have the boost mode. So the 50 is 335 horsepower and mine's 400. This thing is about 245 horsepower combined, and that's made up from a 1.4 turbo petrol engine under the bonnet. That's about 150 horsepower, and an 85 kilowatt, 114 horsepower electric motor. Those two combined to give you a maximum 245 horsepower, I think it is. And it looks like the 0 to 60 time on this is about 7.5 seconds. So, you know, this is a fast little car. And at the moment, we are running it in electric mode. If I just show you on the screen, you've got some different modes there. So you can run in electric only, you can drive it as a hybrid, you can get it to hold the charge until you get to, say, a city or somewhere that's a low emission zone, or you can get it to recharge the battery as you're driving. Right now it's just gone into hybrid because I was pushing the buttons there, and it'll use a combination of the electric motors and the petrol motors. At the moment it is going on electric, but if I put my foot down, it kicks in with the petrol. If the battery runs low, it'll kick in with the petrol. I picked it up from the dealers and it had quite a low battery state, and I got 50 miles to the gallon between the dealers and my house. Now that sounds pretty good, but my wife's Mazda will do 50 to the gallon on that trip. And a month ago I had an Audi A3 1 litre petrol. That had quite a bit of performance in it, obviously not as quick as this. That did about 60 to the gallon on that same journey. So, you know, it might be a hybrid, but there are ways of using less petrol than driving around in hybrid mode. I'll pop it back into EV only with the push of a button, and the battery on this is 14 kilowatt hours, of which you can use about 10, and that's good officially for 29 miles. I would expect it to a little bit less than that, but as I've been driving around mainly electric only, it is giving me 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Now on a nice day like today, with the temperature in the high teens, being driven gently on these kind of roads, that's not a long way off of where my e-tron 55 is. I'd be getting kind of 2.8 to 3 on this trip, and this is only giving me 3. So, you know, it's not very efficient as an electric car. Now what I have found is when it's in hybrid mode and it's using the petrol engine, I just find the petrol engine really rough, and I'm a bit disappointed with it. I read a couple of road tests on it and they were saying very positive things, but I found the engine really quite vibraty, and when I put my foot down and get it into kickdown, the revs leap up, there's loads of noise, there's you know, there's lots of vibration, it feels a bit gruff, but the car doesn't get a lot faster. I was a bit disappointed with it. I thought with the combination of the petrol and the torque off the electric motor, this thing would really feel like it's got loads of performance. But it didn't really work in hybrid mode earlier with a fairly low electric battery on it, so a little bit disappointed. One other thing I've got to say about this, and this is the black edition, so it's got the big wheels and it's got the sport suspension. I just don't like the way it rides. The steering's very light. There's not a lot of feel through the steering. You can't really tell what the car's doing. I mean, the Q8 is heavier on the steering. It does give you a bit more feel though. You can kind of ease off on the power and feel the front tuck in. You can feel a little bit of understeer as you power out of a corner. You know, it talks to you with the Q8, but this thing, it doesn't really. It doesn't really kind of tell you what's going on with it in terms of steering feel. But it's the suspension. You know, this is a tall car. It's a crossover, and I know it's a sports version, but I just find the ride quality is just a bit too firm. I mean, every time we go over a bump, you can feel it. If you ran over a hedgehog, you'd be able to tell what gender it is. You feel absolutely everything on the road. Every pothole, every joint in the tarmac, it all gets transmitted up to you. It's quite well damped out, but what I notice in my car is that it really smoothed things out, and on this you feel everything in the road, and I would certainly want a car that's a little bit softer. If I wanted a car that gave me a kind of firm ride and loads of performance with this interior space, I'd get myself an Audi A3 Sportback. That's a bit lower, it's got a lower centre of gravity, it'll be a lot lighter than this plug-in hybrid. And that would make a better car to drive, because a crossover with a higher centre of gravity is never going to drive as well as a car that's a bit lower. And if I wanted electric, well, for the £45,000 that this thing costs, you could put yourself in a Tesla Model 3, or you can go and get a brand new Hyundai Kona Ultimate with leather for about 45. And I've been in the Kona. It's got more interior space than this. The plastics aren't quite as nice, but that thing will do 5 miles per kilowatt hour on a journey like this, and is vastly superior with an enormous range. So no, I'd never buy one of these. I'd either go with a Kona or I'd just stick with a petrol. I've got to say, the ride quality on this isn't great. Maybe it's better if you go with the smaller wheels on a cheaper model, but I'm really not a big fan of this. What do you reckon, Ben? What do you think to the ride quality and how it goes over the bumps?
It's a bit naff, to be honest. I mean, you can probably see it through the camera.
And there's little seam in the road here. You feel it go thud thud over each axle. Every time we go over one of those, it comes up through the bottom of the seat because the seats are really firm.
Yep.
It's just not a great car to travel on a journey in.
It feels more like a race car.
Yeah, it's really firm on the road, and it's.
If I wanted a firm car which was flashy, I'd buy an old Porsche.
Yeah, you could do that, but I said, you
also have all like the girls looking at you, going, "Oh, there you go." Well, you might not, you're middle-aged, but I would. So, to be honest, for what the ride quality gives and the riding experience it gives, it's kind of found itself middle of the market, like not really sure what it wants to be. Oh, we're going this way, are we?
Yeah, we'll go this way, dodgy traffic. Use my indicator there, not allowed to do that in Audis. But hey, at least it gets a stalk for the indicators, unlike in the Tesla. What I will say in favour of this thing is I thought that a plug-in hybrid, when it's in electric only mode, because it's quite a small electric motor compared to a car that's only got an electric motor, that it would feel a bit underpowered and not very responsive. This thing's only 114 horsepower, 85 kilowatt electric motor, but in spite of that, it actually feels really, really nippy around town, and it does get up to 50 or 60 mile an hour very quickly, and it will sit at 70 in electric only mode. But when I came down the bypass at 70 mile an hour in electric only, the range was plummeting really, really quickly. So if you're going to be driving out of town on this at higher speeds, it really isn't going to go very far at all in electric only mode.
To be honest, I'm not sure if I'd even want to go around town in there. I mean, you certainly couldn't do around most of Dorset with all the potholes and everything, because this road isn't too bad in terms of potholes and road quality. So but imagine being on a really potholed road, you would never be able to cope.
This is probably a better car without the sport suspension and without the big alloys. It's probably a better car if you soften it up a little bit and give yourself a bit of tyre sidewall, just take the edge off the road and soften up the ride quality.
Was that an electric Land Rover Defender?
I don't think so.
Plate.
No, that was. It could be. It could be the plug-in hybrid.
There you go.
Yeah, it could be a plug-in hybrid Defender. So I'm going to pop it into hybrid mode on the way back, and you'll have a feel of what the engine is like. So I like the interior. There's a lot of familiarity in it. It's nice to see that across the entire Audi range you still get the same features. So the virtual cockpit and everything is really nice. The switch gear is nice. Steering wheel's got these weird little bumps at the bottom on this sports one, and these bumps up here. It feels a little bit odd when you do the full turns, but it's a pretty good car. It just would work better if it was a bit softer and give you a bit more comfort. I'd never buy one of these. I'd either get an A3 Sportback or I'd go and get a Hyundai Kona. And here's one other thing just on the interior. It's quite spacious, this thing, but like most Audis, once you go away from the base model up to the sporty ones, it's got the dark roof, and I think that makes this cabin feel really, really dark inside. I'm a fan of lighter colour roofs. I know not everyone is. Panoramic roof, even if it's a fixed one, would be nice as well, but this just feels really, really dark inside. Okay, so one thing I don't like about this is when you put it in reverse. The Audi e-tron that I've got is a bit like an automatic car but one of the big differences is it doesn't creep forward when your foot's off the brake. So I'm going back to what's more like a conventional automatic. This has got the dual clutch transmission. But so I release the park brake, take my foot off. This doesn't creep. This thing absolutely flies backwards unless you've got your foot on the brake, and I just think that that's way too quick, and I don't like it. Right, as always with Audis, in spite of this being a black edition and quite high spec, it doesn't come with a lot of stuff. So it's got one of these. Ben, what do you make of that? There's no keyless entry.
How
push the silver button.
Where's the button?
No, there's no stop-start button.
What do you mean no stop-start button?
Look at this. You push the silver button. You've got a key.
What is that?
And you've got to put the key into it to start it. You don't have to do that on your instructor's car. You don't do that on your mum's car. You've never seen me use one of those.
It's a sword.
And your moped doesn't have one of those either.
It doesn't have one of these.
And yet, £45,000 Audi, and you've got to use an old-fashioned key.
Poor quality.
Oh, it's a lovely quality key. It's just a shame it hasn't got keyless go or keyless entry.
Simple stuff, simple stuff.
Well, we're now in hybrid, and it's fairly seamless when it goes between electric and hybrid. You don't really notice it. It's got it on that energy flow display there, which is quite nice. But as the speed limit changes here, I'm going to put my foot down a bit, and you'll be able to see what I mean, possibly, about how it just kind of makes a load of noise. It does get quicker, but the noise doesn't really correspond to the speed increase. It's a bit disappointing how it goes. So here we are. So quite a lot of noise, and then a bit more vibration. One thing that is surprising is just the amount of tyre noise on this thing. This is not a quiet cabin. I'm having to raise my voice now to speak to the camera because I'm not used to having the wireless microphone on. But this is just noisy inside, and the ride quality is quite poor.
But yeah, definitely. So you can feel it there as well.
Yeah, it's rougher. It's rougher than the 1.5 in Mum's Mazda, which is a 8-year-old car. You know, this thing is not as smooth an engine as the Mazda. You know, overall it's a bit of a disappointing package, and I quite liked the A3 Saloon 30 TFSi that I had last time around when they first attempted to fix my car. That was a car that was a firm ride, but had a nice interior, quite similar to this, quite similar to mine. It had a good ride quality. It was great on economy. It had plenty of performance. That was a good car. I was impressed, but this Q3, I've got to say, I just don't like it. Anyway, hope you may have found that interesting. I see the point of a plug-in hybrid if you're concerned about long journeys, or maybe you just do short trips most of the time. Maybe the 25 miles a day that this thing will comfortably do is enough for you, and then you don't have to worry about charging on a long trip. But it does charge slowly, so don't think you can kind of charge out and about on a longer trip. It takes about 4 hours to charge on the cable. I think it's got a very slow charger built into it. So yeah, I get the point of a plug-in hybrid. I just don't think this is a great example of one. As I said, I'd either buy a standard car with an efficient petrol engine, or I'd go and get myself something like a Hyundai Kona and go electric, or a Tesla Model 3 and go electric. I personally wouldn't choose plug-in hybrid. It certainly doesn't work as a company car because the benefit in kind rates aren't very good on this, because it doesn't have over 40 miles of range. So yeah, it's not going to be my choice of car, but I can see that plug-in hybrids do work for some people. But like with electric, you need to be able to charge it on your driveway, because you're going to be charging this thing every day. And if you are charging every day, do check out our videos on home energy tariffs. Thanks for tuning in and watching through to the end. Please like and subscribe, and we will catch up again soon for some more content.